Before we begin the action, please hit that subscribe button and also press the bell icon to stay updated for all our future videos. Welcome to the fight of the siblings, ladies and gentlemen. This is one that we have been waiting, and I'm sure many of you have been waiting for since a long time. Now today we are comparing the all-new Hyundai Creta with the segment leader Kia Seltos. Now the Creta, since its launch with the previous generation, has been the king of the segment, but the Seltos with its introduction displaced the Creta to take the lead. Now which one of these is better and which one offers what and more to you, that's exactly what we are going to tell you over the next few minutes. Now let's talk about the design, and despite the fact that both of these cars share the same underpinnings, their design couldn't have been more different. Now the Seltos is definitely one that gets top numbers for being the eye candy because it is the one that looks modern, it's futuristic, and it's got very sharp and attractive design. And of course, to all the people that we have interacted with, and including me, I find the Seltos a bit more appealing than the Creta. Now the Creta, on the other hand, again is a futuristic design, but it also looks a bit experimental and very bold, if you might say. In terms of exterior features, there's not much that differentiates both. Both of these cars get LED headlamps with LED DRLs, good looking fog lamps, and again LED tail lamps. Of course, you get 16-inch alloy wheels with 215 section rubber on both. The tire brands for both are different, but the size again remains the same. At the end of the day, as far as design is concerned, for most of you, it'll be pick and choose based on what you love more. But as far as I'm concerned, if I were to pick something basis on the design, for me, it's Seltos that wins the day with more points than the Hyundai Creta. Now, unlike the exterior design of the Creta, which might not be up to everyone's taste, once you're inside the cabin, this definitely will please to most people because the Creta has got a fantastic cabin layout. I mean, the entire design of the dashboard, the center console is spot on. If you look at the material quality also, it is quite nice. No reasons for complaint. I like the fact that there's a dual color finish here. Of course, if you opt for the turbo variant, you get an all black interior, but here what you have is a dual tone dashboard, and then in the center console you have a 10.25-inch touchscreen infotainment system. And both the Seltos and the Creta get Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, and both feature fantastic touchscreens, good resolution, good interface, no lag. So overall, the infotainment experience is spot on as far as Creta is concerned. Even the instrument cluster, it's an all new design, and I like the fact that it's a combination of digital and analog, and especially the digital readout is quite nice. It's elaborate, but it's not complicated like many other vehicles these days. So you get all the information in an easy to decipher manner, and everything's there, and you do not really need to take your eyes off the road, and that is very important. So again, top marks to the Creta for that. As far as seating is concerned, again, the Creta and Seltos both get ventilated seats. You get good space up front, you get good space inside the door pockets. You can easily stow away a lot of stuff inside. Even at the back, you've got good leg room. The seat at the back is nice. The rear backrest angle is good, and the overall comfort is quite nice inside the new Creta. Now, wireless charging is one feature that is becoming quite popular these days with new vehicles, and both of these vehicles have it. But I think the Creta takes home top marks because the accessibility for the wireless charging pad inside the Creta is very easy. It's placed in a location that you can easily place your phone, unlike the Seltos where there's a slot and you need to place your phone inside. So Both have the same feature, but accessibility inside the Creta is quite nice. In case you want to see a more in-depth review of the new Hyundai Creta and all of its features, please click on the link on the top of your screen. Now coming to the differentiation between both. Now what does Creta score? Now the Creta gets an electronic parking handbrake. The Seltos gets a manual. Of course, the biggest feature inside the Creta cabin is this big panoramic sunroof, and the Seltos instead gets a regular electrically operated sunroof. Coming to comfort, well, I told you in terms of space there's not much, but once you talk about the rear seat, in the Creta what you get is you get cushions along with the headrest, so that's a little bit of additional comfort, especially if you're on long journeys. Now one other area where the Creta scores big over the Seltos is the area of safety, especially in these variants. Now these are the top variants for the diesel manual, and if you opt for one of these, in the Creta what you get over the Seltos is 6 airbags versus 2 in the Seltos. And you also get electronic stability control, or vehicle stability management as Hyundai would call it. You also get hill start assist with the Creta, which again the comparative variant of Seltos does not feature. So these are features that really set the Creta apart and give it an edge over the Seltos as far as the cabin experience and features are concerned. Now once you're inside the cabin of the Kia Seltos, again you're greeted to a very good place, and of course again you get a dashboard that is well appointed. The layout, I feel, and especially the touch and feel of the Kia Seltos dashboard is slightly better than that in the Creta, especially because of the soft touch materials it gets in the dashboard. But apart from that, it's all same. Material quality is good in both cars, and it's the same case here in the Seltos as well. Here in this variant you get a dual tone dashboard, which again looks good, and of course you have a good looking 10.25-inch infotainment touchscreen, which works like a charm, same like the Hyundai Creta. Now no differences in that. Of course there is a slight difference in the connectivity, because this has the Kia Yuvo app, whereas the Creta runs on a Hyundai Blue Link. Now the Blue Link, of course the Creta being new, has a few more features than the Seltos, but otherwise both are largely the same. Now let's talk about the differences that the Seltos, the advantages that the Seltos has over the Creta. Now one of the big things that you get inside the Seltos is the fact that the steering in the Seltos is adjustable for rake and reach, whereas in the Creta you get it only for rake. The other difference is that in the Seltos, particularly in this variant, you get front parking sensors, which are missing on the Creta. And also once you move over to the rear seat, while the space and the comfort are largely the same, there's not much to differentiate, you do get an additional middle row headrest, which is missing in the Creta. So that's again an advantage for the Seltos. One other benefit you get with the Seltos, if you are the wanderer type, is the fact that the roof rails in the Seltos are functional, so you can actually use them for loading, whereas in the Creta the roof rails are purely cosmetic. You cannot use it for loading. So that's largely the advantage that the Seltos has over the Creta. And if it is to me, by my own personal preference, I would prefer, as far as an interior, a cabin experience, I think the Creta scores a little bit more than the Seltos. If you wish to know more about the Kia Seltos and its feature in detail, please click on the link on the top of your screen. And now let's talk about the driving pit for the Seltos first. Now as far as the engine options are concerned, both the Kia Seltos and the Hyundai Creta are evenly matched, and of course, like I said earlier, they share the same underpinning, so they have got the same engines and gearboxes. Coming to the variants that we are driving right now, that is the diesel manual, and particularly the top variant in the diesel manual for the Seltos. Now this is a 1.5 liter turbocharged diesel engine, and it is a very refined engine. So once you thumb the starter button, It does wake up to the diesel clattery sound, but beyond that, it is a quiet customer. And as long as you're cruising along at a normal speed or even at highway speeds, the engine is quite refined and smooth, and there's not much of noise that filters inside the cabin, and that is also due to the good noise, vibration and harshness, that is the NVH insulation that Kia has done in the Seltos. Now the power and torque outputs for both the vehicles are the same because they are powered by the same engine, but there is a slight difference in the way both of these drive. Now if you're driving the Seltos, one of the first things you'll notice compared to the Creta is the fact that the clutch in the Seltos behaves in a slightly more aggressive manner. So the clutch release in the Seltos is a bit more aggressive, and it tends to be a bit more jerky compared to the Creta, which is more progressive. So yes, if you want to get that kick off the line, probably the Seltos would cut it out better. And in terms of overall driving experience, this particular engine, the diesel engine, it's got ample power to keep you entertained. If you want to carry out that overtaking maneuver, the quick overtaking maneuver on the highway, again the engine has enough power to deliver at any given moment. And the 6-speed manual gearbox again on this is quite a nice unit. It's a very nice gearbox. The ratios are well matched to the engine, and the gearbox does its job very well. The throws are quite short, so if you want to really push this Seltos hard and have fun, you can do that despite this being a diesel variant. Now even in terms of weight, there's not much that differentiates both these vehicles, so the weight difference is not enough to make any significant impact on the driving behavior. But as far as fuel efficiency is concerned, well, during our testing cycle, the best that we have got from the Seltos diesel with a manual gearbox is 16.9 kilometers to a liter, and that is because we have been pushing the vehicle hard for testing reasons. So if you were to drive this on a normal basis, I'm sure you'll get better numbers out of it. As far as ride and handling is concerned, the Seltos is a pretty good vehicle, and especially in straight line stability, there is absolutely no way you can complain. So even when you're doing speeds of beyond 140, 150, the Seltos stays stable in a straight line and doesn't give you a nervous feeling. Braking, again, panic braking, especially from high speeds, is stable. The vehicle does not veer off the line, and beyond that, even the braking performance is quite impressive. Now, one good thing about the Seltos is that the suspension has been set up very nicely, and that means you get a very good balance between performance and ride quality. So in daily driving conditions, what this means is that while you're going over bad surfaces or road undulations, the Seltos will soak in the bumps quite nicely and filter them out, keeping the occupants largely relaxed. And as far as handling is concerned, again, the setup is quite nice, so you can push the Seltos around corners in an aggressive manner, and still the Seltos is pretty much a point and shoot affair because you point the steering and the Seltos follows the line. The grip from the tires is also quite nice in the Seltos, and I personally found the grip from the Goodyear rubber in the Seltos to be slightly better than the Nexon tires on the Creta. So overall, yes, a good driving package, not many reasons to complain, and if you are someone who loves driving, the Seltos will keep you entertained. On the other hand, if you are someone who's looking for a refined, a comfortable and an efficient driving experience, well, again, the Kia Seltos pretty much checks all the right boxes. And now let's talk about the driving performance of the new Hyundai Creta. Now, like I said earlier, while driving the Seltos, both have the same engine, same power output, same torque, and there's not much to differentiate in terms of weight as well. But like I said, while I was driving the Seltos, both of them drive in a slightly different manner. Now, while the clutch in the Seltos is more aggressive, the one in the Creta is more progressive, and what that means that getting the Creta off the line is a bit more easier than the Seltos, and of course it picks up in a more gentle and a more linear fashion than the slightly more aggressive approach of the Seltos. As far as driving experience is concerned, again, you have enough power at your disposal. So be it your daily city driving or your highway driving, you'll never find yourself being short on power. And again, the gearbox in the Creta also is well matched to the engine, and that means your drivability in urban traffic is quite nice, and you do not have to shift frequently. So that's a good thing with both of these vehicles. Now, one key difference between both these vehicles is the fact that despite being powered by the same diesel engine, the Creta feels a little bit more refined than the Seltos, and the main reason for that is because the NVH insulation in the Creta seems to be slightly better than the Seltos. The difference is not much, but the Creta feels a bit more refined, be it at slow speeds or at highway speeds, or even when you're pushing the vehicle hard. The engine sound that filters inside the cabin in the Creta is slightly lesser. As far as fuel efficiency is concerned, it's again the Creta which holds a slight advantage over the Seltos. While we got 16.9 kilometers as the best figure in the Seltos, we recorded 17.2 in the Creta, slightly higher. And again, same driving routes, same time, so the driving cycle was same for both the vehicles, but it was the Creta that delivered slightly more fuel efficiency. As far as ride and handling is concerned, again, there is a bit of a difference between both these vehicles, as the Creta sports a slightly softer suspension setup, and what that means is while the Seltos has a slight advantage over high-speed cornering and handling, the Creta offers you slightly better daily ride quality, especially over broken surfaces and potholes. So if comfort is your prerogative, then it's the Creta that scores a bit more than the Seltos, whereas if you are someone who loves going around corners at a fast speed, then the Seltos is again slightly better than the Creta. Keeping all the points that we've discussed for both the vehicles from a daily driving perspective, from a balanced driving perspective, it is the Creta that takes over the lead over the Seltos, but again by a small margin. And now it's time to announce a winner of the shootout. But trust me, it has never been so hard because there's barely anything to decide between these two. It's almost like splitting a hair. These two are that closely matched. Now, the biggest difference between these two cars is the fact that there's no way we can tell you that one model is better than the other point blank, because it depends on the variants. There are some variants where the Seltos has a distinct advantage over the Creta, and then again there are variants where the Creta has a big advantage over the Seltos. So first of all, you need to look at what variant you're going in for and compare the features that you get in either of these two vehicles, because both of these offer some features that you will not get in the other car. Now, basis the variants that we have with us today, it is the Creta that takes home the win, but only and only by the smallest margin possible, and that is primarily because for these variants the Creta gets additional safety features and some more convenience features over the Seltos. But then again, like I said, it doesn't mean the Seltos loses out to Creta overall as a model, because there are variants where the Seltos has an advantage over the Creta.